Beautiful evening, and we are going to start this evening off on session 1 of DM Tavern, and I am going to go right down the list in the order that I see them. And I'm going to start with Anthony, and if you guys can give a brief description of who you are, what you're all about, maybe what you're up to these days, if you got any one-shots planned that you're going to be hosting, and then, once we go down the line, we'll continue on from there. So, Anthony, if you want to start us off, that'd be awesome.
Alright, so I'm quite a new DM. I've been playing like D&D, played a little bit of 3.5 edition, starting to DM 5th edition, played lots of other geeky stuff. I don't know, do gaming, just left school, lots of spare time, too much spare time, probably. That's everything about me really. Next.
Alright, cool. If we can get, I actually don't know how to say your name. Baptiste?
Baptiste.
Baptiste.
Yeah.
Like the wrestler, kind of.
Maybe. I don't know. So yeah, my name is I'm a student currently, but mostly I played role-playing game for 7 years now. So, but sometimes. I mostly played D&D 4E, 3.5, a lot of games that we made on the spot, and Call of Duty. So basically, yeah, I came in to see what I can help people with DMing. So, next one.
Awesome. Let's get Christopher up next.
Okay, what's up, everybody? This is Christopher, Fat Ninja DM. I've been playing D&D since about 1990, 91. Love DMing, actually. I started off as a player and then became a DM. Unfortunately, not by choice. It was kind of by necessity, and I've been kind of doing it ever since. And yeah, definitely grown to love it. Right now, I'm up to running a game on Saturday nights on Fantasy Grounds. I'm also part of a Pathfinder game on Wednesdays and another 5e game on every other Thursday. So kind of busy, and also commenting, trying to help people on the Facebook groups with DM questions and stuff like that. So, yep, that's me, Christopher.
Awesome. Fantasy Dimensions. Is that Ian? I think that's Ian.
That's Ian.
All right, Ian, what's up?
Not much. How are you?
Doing good. How about you go up next? Did you catch what you were doing?
No. We're just introducing ourselves, are we?
Yeah, just introduce yourself. You got a channel plug it. If you're like in any kind of, if you're running any kind of upshot, if you're running any kind of one-shots or campaigns in the near future, we'd love to hear about them. There we go.
Right on. Yeah, well, I'm Ian. I run the YouTube channel Fantasy Dimensions, which is just focused basically on my actual play videos. I run a lot of games on there, so I'm running a one-shot in just under an hour, in fact. So I'm going to be kind of doing a little bit of a hit and run. But,
no worries.
Yeah, I've got a couple of different campaigns I've got going on as well, including a 5th edition D&D campaign, which is it's kind of an arcane punk space opera based loosely off of Spelljammer. And then I do lots of Call of Cthulhu kind of stuff, whether I do it in Call of Cthulhu actual systems or if I do it in systems like Fate and things of that sort. So, yeah. And I also run a series of Mass Effect one-shots as well, which is running the Mass Effect Fate RPG. Fate is basically my favorite system right now. I've been playing the hell out of it. So, yeah, that's what I do.
All right, awesome. Got all walks of systems up in here. I'd say that we have another Ian in the group. Would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Hi, yeah. This is the other Ian, Ian White, affectionately known as Whitey, apparently. Yeah, I'm seasoned, I would say, but I'm nowhere as near the same league as you guys. I consider myself to be like a minor league player, which is why I've joined these groups, the one-shot group and the Fate group as well, just to learn more and just to up my game, basically. I have got a couple of games going. I'm playing in a game on Saturday nights and running one on Thursdays, fantasy-ish, using Fate, surprisingly enough. Ian, it's a good system. Yeah, so that's basically me. Hello.
All right, cool, awesome. All right, we've got Mr. Loudmouth next. I wonder if he can guess who he is. Mr. Infinite Roleplay, Mr. Big Man in the House. Is he there?
So I knew that had to be Nelson. Nelson.
Yeah. My name is Nelson. I run the YouTube and Facebook group Infinite Roleplay. I've been playing role-playing games since the tail end of 2nd edition and getting my little fingers into as many of them as I can. I do all sorts of things, art, map making, 3D art, animation, sound, all that wonderful stuff. I'll be starting to run a little instructional mini campaign for Star Wars Edge of the Empire, starting tomorrow, actually. I'll be playing in Fantastic Dimensions Fate one-shot coming up in just under an hour. And, yeah.
All right, cool. All right, Keith, what's up? Who are you? What you all about?
Hi guys, Keith Hershey here. I've been playing D&D since 1982 off and on. Currently I play a lot of 5th edition using the Fantasy Grounds virtual tabletop. I've got a bunch of tutorials up for that. I constantly run games, generally multiple times during the week, throughout the week, and even on the weekend.
All right, cool. All right, next up we've got Soren. I think that's how you say your name.
Yeah, I'm Flo. I'm
Flo.
the avatar of hate. I tend to play and run. Nowadays I like more to run in the one-shot group, several types of games, mostly focused on Sharon. I've got one that I haven't posted it yet on the World of Darkness one, and I'm planning on making a one-shot / campaign. I don't know how it will turn out on the Mass Effect, especially the Fate one, and I have DM'd in 5th edition D&D as well.
All right, awesome. Well, I am the other loudmouth in the group, and I go by DM Night Hag. If you're watching, you're probably on my YouTube channel at the moment. It's a little bear. So don't worry about it. We'll fill that up. But tonight, we're all gathered here for a really good reason. We're here for DM Tavern, and basically the gist is second Sunday every month. We're gonna meet up. Rotating DMs, same DMs, doesn't matter. Whoever wants to come in and talk and really delve deep into different subjects about everything, every different subject that you could think of for DMing and what's involved between campaigns and managing your players or your players managing you, for that matter. So we're gonna kick it off with a bang, and we're gonna talk about plots today. And basically, I want to get us started off on a question that came in, and that is, where do you guys start when you are making your world for your campaign? Do you like to focus on the small things, like maybe a little niche in the woods where your players would start out, or do you prefer to start with your world and what it's all about? And anybody can jump in at any given time and answer. Multiple people can answer. It's just whatever you want to do.
Okay, well, I want to start. Depends on the game, really. If you go for a full-blown campaign, you might want to check out the world, like how it is built, and then go to a smaller scale, to a town, to a tavern, or anything. But for something like a one-shot, maybe you go from the basics. Like, where do you start? what's it around it, and then you go bigger. That's it. At least that's the way I do it. I change how I manage a game because of the length it's going to be. So if anyone wants to take the mic and go along.
Okay, I'm taking the mic. Yeah, generally it's I have an idea. You know, I want to play, let's say, Space Pirates versus Slaver in the Mass Effect universe. I've played the video games. I know the universe kind of pretty well-ish. I'll have to reread a few details, and I'll start on what I want to make it work for that particular thing, how I want to do it, because, well, in that particular instance, I know the world, but then I focus on the small details. But in general, I tend to just get with an idea, what I want to do with this particular thing, and how I want to do it. Do I want to do it in a particular system, or is it based on a particular series, whether it's video games, or is it an anime? Is it a cartoon? Is it anything? I want to know about it, and then how to make it work. Sometimes I just wing it, because oh fuck, who am I kidding? I wing it all the time. It's kind of one of those things where I don't know. I can't not wing it, because most of the times, especially when I get new players and other new players and again other new players, everyone has different ideas, and I wing it. Even after I've thought of a different idea for that world, how it's expanded, totally up to the players, and how it ends, totally up to the players as well. Drops the mic.
Cool. Does anybody else have anything to say before
This is a plot or a world building question?
This is building a world's plot in general. Basically, like, are you starting with the town and like what the town's all about? Like, is it a fortress, a city? Is it a religious place? Or you start with the world and what's your overlaying problem with what's going on? Like, what is happening in the world? Is that where you're starting, or are you starting small?
Personally, I don't like to limit myself to any one way of approaching something. It's more or less wherever, if you're inspired to do anything, wherever that point of inspiration comes from, to just run with it. Like, I like to make maps. I like to draw. I'm an artist by nature, and sometimes I like making these things randomly, and then seeing where it goes. It's like, oh, well, this looks like that, or this looks like that. And then once you have that sort of structure or point of reference or point of inspiration, like defensible positions for potential conflict between empires usually happen at choke points, on a map. So you can go from a choke point and go, okay, now why is there a conflict? Why are they fighting over land? It's that one magic question, why? And just by asking yourself that, you can have a general idea and then spread in both directions, either generating further subplots or connecting overarching larger plots within whatever point of reference you just started off from, whatever point of inspiration. Like, you know what, I want to have, cowboys versus Indians in my world. And then you ask yourself, but why does that exist?
Yeah, exactly. That's really good.
Or steal a plot from a movie or a comic, like like what you was saying, the what is it? The conquistadors in South America with the Aztecs, but instead of Spain and South Americans or Mesoamerica, you have humans and elves in the same type of situation. But why did they get in that situation, or how did they get in that situation? And then just keep answering your own questions and letting the story, exploring your own story before your characters do, your players do. And another way I like to do it is just, steal from the players. People come in with their own ideas all the time and love to derail your own specific plot, or, just go left when you want them to go right. So let them go left, and from that point on, in the next session, go, that was really interesting. Let's build on that, and then present it to them in the next session.
Yeah, a lot of fun to do, because you've got to be ready to improv, and it takes a certain amount of confidence, I suppose, and a certain amount of dungeon mastering skill, I guess. But when you get really comfortable with it, and you can riff off of the player's ideas, and just go totally left field, away from what you intended to do, and just kind of build something with it, it can be very rewarding. Of course, scenario. If you're looking at one-shot scenarios, generally, I personally would tend to be a little bit more kind of railroadish, I suppose, in order to use what's considered kind of a bad word, I guess, in the game, in the hobby. But when I'm developing a one-shot, I usually just kind of take a few key kind of encounters that I expect to happen in the game, and you can devise these in a way so that they happen no matter which direction players go. Or, if you're setting up like a dungeon one-shot or something like that, it's usually going to be pretty much, there's going to be a certain amount of tunnel vision involved anyway. And in those kind of cases, in a one-shot story, I just have my few key encounters, and they could be combat encounters, they could be non-combat encounters, they could be puzzles, they could be, traps, whatever you want. But, and I develop a basic, overlying story over that area in the game as far as like why it's there, just like Nelson said. Why does it exist, and why are the players there? And then after that, you just kind of let the players romp around in it, and maybe they finish it, maybe they don't, maybe they go off and do something else, maybe they get themselves killed, maybe they, just decimate your dungeon and take over the world, whatever they can do in 3 to 4 hours, and enjoy it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting, because that kind of like leads me almost directly into my next question that came in, and that's how do you determine what level to start at based on how epic of a story you want to run?
Well, if you play Fate, you don't choose a level, because everybody just starts off awesome anyway, and there's not a whole lot of leveling up involved. Solved.
I think that's a personal question as a GM. What levels do you have the most fun running at? Really, because everything else can kind of be scaled up accordingly. Unless you want them to fight the Tarask, then probably you're gonna start them off a lot higher. If they're hunting down ancient dragons, chances are they may be a little higher. Or if it's just a plot you want to explore while they're of lower level, you might want to explore the subplots around the major plot. The subplots being something that those lower level characters could achieve rather than directly facing the dragon. Like, if they're sent to stop a dragon, maybe they don't have to kill it, they just have to blow up the entrance with some dynamite. A couple of level 6s can handle that,
Right.
Well, it depends if you want to go like power play. Really strong characters going against a big fat dude that is a giant big thing. And most of the time, you can pretty much roll with whatever level you want.
You can power play any level. So.
Yeah. But what I say is mostly about epic nature, like really epic, big fight. And but you can do it. Like I was going to say, yeah, pretty much any level. It's much more of a what do you want your player to feel than
Although
a question of level.
in my case, it's more like whatever level that I feel like, and hopefully the players will want to start at that level. If they don't, I'll have to readjust the level accordingly, and then hope for the best, because it happened to me at one time that I wanted to start off the players at a higher level of experience, and they were like, "Nah, I don't feel like it," so I had to adjust the level of everything down,
Right.
But hey, that happens all of the time when it comes to running games. You have to adjust it to the players' wishes if you actually want to have players at your table.
Right, yeah. So I have another question here that it might not directly correspond with plot, but I still want to kind of get it out of the way. pretty early, so we can get right back on subject. And the question is directly, are we evolving past the need for systems like Roll20 or other resources like it with the more RP-focused heavy games that are coming out these days from the DMs?
No. Question answer. Well,
Yeah, pretty much.
here's what I think. Like, I have a really heavy background in miniature wargaming, so my preference is to actually run games with terrain and miniatures and all of that. And I love to roleplay as well, so I like to incorporate the two. And as much roleplay as you can, and when things go down, you have miniatures, points of reference. I actually do not enjoy that much theater of the mind. Whether you can tell or not, I actually don't. So the need for something that's a solid point of reference, instead of just, people having to scroll down a bunch of numbers on a piece of paper, or, hold on, wait, you did how much, counting in their head, or how many enemies did I send against you again? The virtual tabletops aren't doing a fantastic job, in my opinion, with keeping up with the actual tabletop, but having the ability to have a piece of terrain or an actual map with actual physical enemies represented and your characters and NPCs physically represented is a great point of reference that you can all call back to. And depending on who's doing the painting, miniature modeling, terrain building, is a great source of inspiration to influence the role play, rather than just everyone pulling things out of the air, worrying about, okay, am I driving the scene or am I completely changing the direction of the scene because I got lost?
And on the counterpoint, I played a lot of Theater of the Mind. I actually enjoy Theater of the Mind, and it's really up to everyone to be in agreement that this is, especially if we're on a table and we're like, okay, we're doing this or we're doing that, but we have to be all in the same boat, so to speak. Because if it's like one of us wants to do a miniatures war game and another one wants to go Theater of the Mind and another one just wants to do something else, then nothing will work, and we need to find a common ground to make the game work. Because if we don't have the common ground, we won't start anything,
I think the common ground happens, you come to when you come and play the game, regardless of how the game is played. You can do Theater of the Mind and just move a little mini. It's not necessarily a miniatures war game. It's the same kind of question of, would you rather not roll dice or do a digital dice roller, an RNG, a random number generator? Or do you enjoy the tactile feeling of the dice, of rolling them, of dropping them, hearing those sounds, watching them roll? That's the same kind of issue with me and actually playing with miniatures and terrain. The tactile feeling, seeing it, looking at something when I get confused. You can get up and walk away from a table with miniatures on it, take a 5-minute break, grab some chips, hang out for a second. If it's a situation that's a little bit too stressful or that allows way too much thinking and you're just like, I need a breather, you can step away and then come back with that same exact point of reference, everything left there, rather than Theater of the Mind. I'm not saying Theater of the Mind sucks. It doesn't. But personally, for me, I feel that it's only part of the equation.
Yes. Well, in most of the time, I just since with my background, I don't actually get to play physical, tactile type games because of the limitations that I've been currently presented and have been presented most of my life. I find it more enjoyable to do via the computer because I can finally do it. Because before, I think, last year, when I actually started doing stuff that involves actual roleplay and not just playing video games, getting into the player of the PC's mind and thinking of a backstory, and then finally running my own games. Uh, I actually enjoyed the whole deal with rolling virtual dice because it's what I finally got to do after a freaking whole damn while where I just heard of D&D from movies or video games where it's like, oh yeah, we're referencing this. We're so clever. Yay. And I'm like, okay, that's great, but what's it all about, you know? And finally, last year, I got to actually experience that, and now I'm running my own games.
Hmm.
So yay me!
Well, personally,
Awesome.
I like both. Really like both because they got different advantages. For a long time, I played with figurines and terrain. The problem I got when I was GMing was I rerolled the game when I tend to go with figurines. And the cool thing I can do with Theater of the Minds, if I can let my player go free and go everywhere. And I agree both are good. So it depends. If I'm in front of someone doing a game, I rather do the game with figurines and dice. On the internet, there's the issue of cheating, so you can like virtual dice are okay-ish, but I rather roll real die because yeah, I like touching them, rolling them. The sound is great. So yeah, both are really good, and I might let other people talk because I talk a lot too. So
Yeah,
for the quiet people, go.
yeah, that's why we need both options, and that's why it's also cool about having different DMs that have different varying backgrounds. Like you have Nelson in the so-called power gaming. He always tagged with that, and I don't even understand it. He's just a good role player, and people hate on him for it. But then you got more like thoughtful, more cerebral people like Chepe that gives a very unique look on how DMing is done. And that's why we need the options of these different game systems and different mental looks at role playing. And so options, options, options. And, that's what it's really all about.
All right, cool. Before I move on, does anybody else have any input on if we're evolving past the need for third-party software?
Is it just third-party software in general, or is it specifically things with grids involved? Like grid, like Fantasy Grounds and Roll20?
Yeah, we're talking like Roll20. There's a couple that just came out on Steam. Basically, like 3D elements that would create a virtual tabletop.
The answer is obviously no, because as everyone answered here now, that there is a demand for that kind of thing for some people, and other demands for other stuff. You can still use Roll20 for like music and different things like that. I know people that use Roll20 just in Theater of the Mind, just because they like to put their pictures out, like a table, like handouts on the Roll20 grid. Even though there's still no miniatures or spacing like that, and then just have background music play through Roll20 as well. So third-party software is useful for any number of reasons. People have different demands and different needs, and there's obviously a demand for it, otherwise there wouldn't be so many programs coming out for it.
Yeah,
So no.
I just want to say one more thing because I could say a million, but I'll say just one more and shut up. As far as the third-party software, right, and video games, way back in the day, they came out with a game, Neverwinter Nights. I don't know if any of you remember that, but they had
I know it. I know
they
it.
had an online feature that allowed you to build your own worlds and actually DM online, have the role of the DM on different servers. And some of the most enjoyable characters that I have ever played was on Neverwinter Nights, and it was heavy role-playing. And you could consider that as a third-party piece of software.
Well, here, I'll kind of counter everybody's answers with yet another question. Do you think perhaps the people that enjoy the theater of the mind, the role-play heavy games, do you think that perhaps the right software has not come out yet? A software that would allow for basically the impossible to become possible. Like any kind of situation a DM could think of, whether it's falling out of the sky and you're fighting mid-fall, or something along those lines that maybe the software right now can't handle. Do you think perhaps it might be an issue of maybe just the technology, the software not being out yet?
Not necessarily.
There, especially when it comes to a theater of the mind, it's more like an agreement between the players and the one that's running, that we actually think it in our mind, and from time to time roll dice to see the exact awesomeness that happened within our mind, and it really is heavily dependent on how well we can describe our actions, that we can inspire each other to perform more feats of bravery or cowardice, depending on the type of character you're playing. But it really depends on the imagination of the player and the one who's running it. However, software is just a tool that helps you facilitate roleplay. It's not the be-all and end-all, because otherwise we would be playing a video game, and that's not what we're doing here. We're playing a role-playing game, and we are thinking of ways to improve our roleplay, to get more experiences that some systems provide or don't provide, depending on what we want. So it's more like...
I agree with the fact that he's saying that that software is a tool, but like anything else, like voices, mannerisms, movement, descriptions, having dialogue, those are all tools that you have in your personal box, and you're willing to either use, not use, or tools that you're willing to explore the use of. Some people may never try their hands at doing a voice or an accent, or little mannerisms. They may only default to their personal descriptions. They may never engage in dialogue. They may not like dialogue. But those are all personal decisions. Whether or not the tool has been invented that could, better draw people in, I think is more of a question of ease of use rather than willingness. But some people just aren't willing. Some people aren't willing to play with minis. Some people aren't willing to engage in dialogues. Some people aren't willing to go in-depth descriptions. I think it's more a question of willingness and getting past that, instead of just limiting yourself to one style of play, opening yourself up to many different styles of play, and having access to many different types of tools, such as software.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree with that. It's real cool to have the softwares. The only thing probably missing in Roll20 is feeling for the players. Like you see some dice sometimes and Hangouts, but it's still in the background. You have the map full blown before you, and that's pretty much the only thing that is missing for now. It's feeling the players around you. And sorry, I cut you off.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Can I just add something?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I personally think that if sort of like software caught up to where DMs like the standards are at like this point in time, where they're able to sort of improv on the spot, then it wouldn't make DMs redundant, because then our expectations as DMs would sort of get even higher. So like we would be expected to be more sophisticated in our storytelling abilities than the software, and I think that would make it better for us in the long term, because then people have sort of a higher expectation for us and respect us more for what we do. Just my view.
Yeah, well, it depends on the players and depends on those that run it, because I can just go with a name tag and a good story, and I don't have to roll any dice, and I'm cool with it. Other times I just want to be rolling heavily and trying to describe my awesome actions in a very epic way, and while performing a song.
Can I
let's
ask
say,
a
or
quick sub
poetry.
question?
Yeah, go for it. Go for
I-
it. Ask
I-
a question.
It's directly tied in with this question. All right. So for flow, right? You prefer theater of the mind because it allows you to do things that you feel it allows you to do. However, what's stopping you from doing those same exact things while using software or while playing with miniatures? What do you feel stops you from playing in that way?
Well, it doesn't stop me. It's more like the way I want to prep for a game. That's mostly it's my mood. That's the simplest answer. It's my mood, depending on what mood I am. Because if you actually have to deal with me in a longer term, I can go from, oh god, I know everything about this universe, I have all of these epic NPCs, to just, I have an idea. Yes, we're running with it. Yes. I can go from the most prepped guy to the least prepped guy in like this, depending on what I've got.
I think for a lot of people, and I guess I'm going to put my 2 cents in real quick. I think for a lot of people that prefer like the role play elements, and this is going to come from a more of a DM stance and not a player stance. When you have a story in your head and you have an idea of where it wants to go, when you're using like these Roll20s and you know other things like that, we've talked about it all the time. You can plan as much as you want to, and then your players take a left turn, and you have to have all of that set up and ready to go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can't just on the fly say, oh, okay, I guess you can do that. Let me just take the next 30 minutes to make a map for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I guess that's one thing.
Although
Go ahead.
there was one time, sorry to interrupt, there was one time where it was like, okay, you're going through a forest, and I had to rehash all of my later picks just to use it beforehand to illustrate what I wanted to illustrate, and rework the whole thing with the picks that I already got, you know? Just to suit the tone that the story was taking shape, because the player took the wrong turn, and I rolled with it, so to speak.
I'm gonna say one more thing. I'm gonna shut up till the next question.
Go ahead.
Is like we said before, minis, terrain, dry erase maps, hexes, non-hex rulers, software, complete and utter theater of the mind, the different methods of playing with theater of the mind, and so on and so forth, rule sets. Those things are all tools, right? And when you use a tool, you're not necessarily limited to those tools. It's not like D&D with minis is a genre, so you can't use theater of the mind. If you're not prepared with everything in terrain, fall back on more theater of the mind. Break out a loose leaf paper and draw a quick map. Fall back on it. And then when you are prepared for certain things, throw them out there. Don't limit yourself to. I feel like people limit themselves way too much when it's not.
Yeah.
My answer to what you kind of counter question there, Nelson, would be a combination of my own laziness and time management. My brain, for me, works a lot faster than my body, and I'm not very skilled at drawing or coming up with maps and stuff like that. Whereas I have a very overactive imagination, and I can visualize things in my head, but I can't always communicate that onto paper or a grid screen, whatever you want to call it. So the reason I stick with theater of mind personally is just because I can flow with that so much faster, and it doesn't slow down my brain process. Whereas if I stop and try to draw out a scene, even just on like a dry erase board or using Roll20 or something like that, it stops my creative process, because a lot of times I'm creating stuff on the fly. I don't prep very much for my sessions. I tend to just kind of come up with an overall kind of atmosphere and ideas to what the world is like, what kind of things could be going on in it. And then I just kind of riff off the players, like we were saying earlier. depending on where they want to go and what kind of things they want to do. So that's what keeps me from using like Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds very much. And I have played with Roll20 where we just use it for the the online dice roller, which is really handy, and maybe for some visual things, just like presenting pictures of characters or photographs of scenery and stuff like that. But I just don't personally like to slow myself down to the speed which I'd have to do to draw maps and move little icons around on that map to try to represent where people are. That's just my own personal preference, though. I got nothing against it. It's just too slow for me.
Yeah, same here.
Right. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm more of a going with failure of mine because of consistency. If you got a map well drawn and with a mob or something in it, and then next time they took a left turn, and you go, okay, you draw some crappy map and do your stuff. And for me, it's not as consistent, and it lets the player know you didn't prepare for that. And it's better for them to be all in the magic and the world than to let them know you didn't prepare for that and you're winging it. At least for me.
Yeah.
Right.
'Cause-
So I think. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, most of us just wing it most of the time because as much as I want to say that I've prepped for everything, just in the last few days I was like, oh shit, I didn't prep for this, and the more I talk to other people, the more I realize, oh god, I haven't prepped for this, and again, I haven't prepped for this, and so on and so forth. But when it came to the actual session itself, I was like, okay, I'm running it. Doesn't matter what I prepped. I'm going to wing it and hope for the best. And it went well. Go.
Yeah, I think the we're gonna call it the moral of the story, from everybody's kind of points of views, is you really have to figure it out for yourself. You have to figure out if the third-party software is something you can use as a tool, or if your best course of action for you as a DM is to theater the mind it all the way, or you might be one of the people who uses both. That really kind of comes down to you as a player, but it's really nice for everybody to know what their options are. You know what I mean? And this is kind of what this is about. Everybody kind of everybody here is a DM, and everybody has their methods, but that doesn't mean you can't learn new methods. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna roll us past that subject, and I'm gonna hit the last question. And then we're going to go deeper into the plot stuff that we're supposed to be focusing on. But I had to get through the questions first. As a GM, what kind of player do you want at your table?
Very simple question, but very tough to answer. Basically, you want a mix. Like, I would love to have a player like Nelson, Ian, and Chepe, because they bring so many different varying play styles, and also their DM knowledge also kicks in. So, like if you're stuck on something, they would be more than willing to jump in and help you, rather than be the asshole player that sits there like, oh my god, he didn't know what the fuck he's doing. Instead they was like, well, hold on, this is actually a free action, or this is just, you can't use that right now, so just back up on that. And then you say, okay, and then you learn something for being a DM, because let's face it, since we're all DMs, we have this little fragile thing that we all have, is called ego, and it hates being bruised or damaged in some way. And so when you have a helpful player that's also a DM too, they can kind of help you over those stumbling blocks, and make you a better DM, because you keep your confidence up instead of being slapped with a critical bitch slap to the face, because you got people that's helping you out.
Well, in my case, it's more like the players that I want are the ones that are willing to go along with it, because Because as much as I want to say that I'm prepped with everything, nope, I'm not. Most of the time I'll find a lot of kinks that uh, I'll hear a video game character's voice in my head that says you are not prepared. You know which one. But I want them to roll with it as much as I have to roll with it as well, so to speak. Because it's like that's the type of player that I prefer to have, to not be disruptive and not be the type of player that you just want to ask him or her, why are you here? That's essentially the type of players that I want. The ones that actually want to roll with the whole imagination land that you have prepared and roll with the punches as much as you are willing to go, they are willing to go as well. And you'll join in for the ride.
Yeah, personally,
Alright, cool.
I only
Look,
require two
I-
things from players, that the things that I love from players, and that's the ability to roleplay, and that's not just describing, talking, dialogue. You're a character, you're a fictional character in a fictional world. Go do stuff. Don't always ask, can I do this? Can I do this? Or what if this happens? You know, do it and find out. In life, you do things and you find out the results. So when you're playing a game, your character does things and finds out the results. That and the fact that the players have to know that what's going on is a group experience. It's not all about them. They're not the only one around. And it's not like, I'm the most important, everyone else isn't type of attitude. As long as they don't have that attitude and they could just, you know, be role players, not just say, I'm a role player because I have colorful descriptions. But when something bad happens, they go, I don't know what to do. Can I do this? No. Just do. Just go with it. That's all I need.
Oop, did Ian lag out?
Yeah, I think he. Oh,
Because-
he'll be back.
He'll be playing soon, isn't he? Isn't he GM in a game?
There you are. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. What did you say?
I think I agree with the Fat Ninja mostly, and I'd also prefer players to be more like me, and that way they'll enjoy, hopefully, the kind of games that I put forward.
Alright, cool.
Maybe that's selfish.
Well, it's not. Every one of us that actually takes the time and effort to prep a game and make an experience for our players, want our players to actually enjoy whatever we have prepped for them. Because it's like, why do you bother? You know, it takes time and energy from your side to prep something, and you kind of want your players to enjoy it.
Yeah, for me, it's not about really the player, but much about the feel of a group. Because you're playing with lots, maybe 2 or 3 people, and even if they are a good player on their own, if they do not get along with everyone else, or just go against you because they do not appreciate what you do, you lose the fun of it. So for players, yeah, maybe interested in the game, sure, and not that heavy on the rules, because most of the time the rules are just tools. So I say, yeah, just a good feel to the group, and then yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. Alright, so I hope that that answers that person's question. So now I really want to delve into like the meat of kind of like why we're all here for the session, and I really want to focus now on all aspects of plot. Everything from the creation of plot and the tools you use to plot twists and how you set them up and what happens when they don't translate well when you're actually in the game. So basically, we're going to start off on what are the tools, methods that you guys use to start sketching out your plot. Not like where do you pull ideas from, but like, are you using Microsoft Word and writing it down in a bulletin? Do you have a DM binder? Do you use note cards? Are you using, what are the tools that you're using to create and weave your plot and transition it to the actual board? And I actually want to hit some people we haven't heard from too much from, and I'm going to actually hit, let's see here. I'm going to hit Christopher up for this one right off the bat, because we've only heard from him once or twice.
Well, basically, when you're starting off plots, of course, it has to start from some kind of inspiration, and I'll kind of echo what Nelson was saying a while back. It can be from a movie, cartoon, anime, a soap opera, whatever. And then once you get that inspiration from there, then that's when everything starts to swirl in your brain, and then you start putting it down on paper. And then watching other people on YouTube, because, everybody has their own way of DMing and setting up things. But when you watch other people on YouTube, you can, grab some ideas or tactics on how they do things. And then maybe it might improve, or maybe you can tweak it a little bit to where it fits your DMing style or play style if you're a player looking for inspiration for something. And, that's what it's all about, exploring what's out there on YouTube, because there's so many YouTube channels with different people doing different things, from Fate, Pathfinder, D&D, so on and so forth. So it's important to watch all that stuff, regardless if you like the system or not. So then, in doing so, you enrich yourself as a DM and also a player.
Yeah. Though I want to kind of focus a little bit more on like the tools you guys are using and setting up. Like for example, I'm going to kind of reiterate myself a little bit. Are you guys using DM binders? Do you have like a little binder that you keep for your campaign or one shot that you can kind of flip through as you're at the table? And if so, like how do you organize your thoughts into something like that? How are you utilizing the tools to weave plots? And I'm gonna force Chepe into this one. Chepe.
Hey,
Get in there.
Chepe.
He's like, no.
Speak,
No.
King. Decorate us with your words.
In Chepe we trust.
Come on, Chepe.
Tepe, you can do it!
I was muted. I was actually talking, and I didn't realize I muted myself.
Okay.
Okay, yes, perfect. We see how professional I truly am. So for Odenwald, for example, I got pages and pages of notes. I got one notebook for Odenwald particularly, but that's because I want to do several campaigns or several one-shots in the same world of Rowan Gate, which Infinite Roleplay just did a map for. And this is the first time I've done an intro, and so for me this is like, because it's new, I kind of over-prep for it in order to, cover my page, make sure I get that in. It really depends on what we're talking about. For me, lists, favorite way of prepping. I like for example, a game of Numenera. I can prep it with just 4 index cards with plot points of what's going on in the world or in that area, list of random weird things that I could see in the area, which is actually the statted out creatures, which is really easy to do. Fourth one is either an NPC or complications or things like that. So for a Numenera or a one shot, I could just be done in like 4. For a thing of Odenwald, I have like 4 or 5 different kinds of solutions and that kind of lists. Like, if there's an area, then I might map out the area, but that's different. It just depends on what I'm doing. So sometimes a map, but generally just lists, tons and tons of lists.
All right, cool. So lists is how you're doing it. You're kind of
Yeah.
organizing your thoughts through lists. That's really cool. I actually hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah, well, that's more of an improv because it's like what my metaphor is making a taco, right? You have all your ingredients to line out for a taco, and so your list, like if you get an order, you need it for last minute, you can just put the ingredients together to make the taco. So you can just
All right.
pull. It helps you pull stuff out of your ass. So if you want to do improv, then you prep for improv by making lists about the thing of ingredients to improv with. If you're doing prep, then you can do things like map things out, prepare everything, which is what I normally do for like bigger campaigns or something.
Cool. I know in the comments when we were setting this up on the one-shot group, Chris from Drop Dice actually mentioned that he had some tools he wanted to talk about for organizing plot. If he's ready to talk about it.
Yeah, I finally got my computer all set. Give me just 1 second loading up my overlay here. There we go. So there is a group of guys that I helped them out with this topic in the past called Your GM Academy that's on YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and put the handy plot helper I developed for them inside here, but you guys should link that inside the video at the end. Essentially, it goes over the 36 dramatic situations, which are the dramatic situations that writers write about. And it tells you about what the ingredients are, kind of using that metaphor of the taco idea that you have your lettuce, your tomatoes, and things like that, and what you're going to put inside there. So with this, it kind of tells you what those 36 options are, and then it tells you like what those ingredients are. So like let's say all sacrifice for passion is one of them, number 22. It says you need a lover, an object of fatal passion, and the person or thing that's being sacrificed. And then it gives you a little detail of how that story is basically structured. A lover sacrifices a person or thing and an object, which is then lost forever. And that could be kind of the plot point for you, and it gives you kind of an outline of it. And then as you go through the document, there's also like how to set up your generic good forces, bad forces, and neutral forces, and then a wild card. Inside there, I've put links to the videos that they did to kind of further explain the concepts, because this is kind of the Cliff Notes of it, version of it. And it tells you about the 4-act structure, how to set up combat encounters, the 8 types of fun when it comes to role-playing, and kind of a little bit about how to set up your plots and things like that. And then at the end, there is a kind of a bigger version that takes all the information and puts it down into like how do you want to do your meta structure, your dramatic situations. You don't have to follow this every time. I don't. But I've gotten used to keeping these items in mind for me when I actually put stuff together. So what I do is I actually I have OneNote that I keep everything for my campaign notes. Like instead of doing campaign binder, I just use OneNote for everything, which basically functions like a binder. And so what I usually do is I will have tabs inside there that have like my plot points and things like that, and I'll keep my NPCs in there. And the best part about OneNote is you can link between pages inside there. So if I put in an NPC, I can put a link over to his NPC page. And so it kind of keeps everything fluid for me. There's other tools online like Obsidian Portal. I don't know if anybody's mentioned that one yet. That does a very similar type of interface. It's a wiki website. You can do the same thing with Fantasy Grounds and Roll20 as well. If I could figure out how to share the one that I have in OneNote, that one is a better structure than the one here in Google, but the Google one pretty much hits everything as well.
Yeah, for me, I use lots and lots of notes, and mostly Google Doc, because you can write and add stuff, images on the fly. And like if I screen share this a little, where is it? Yeah, this way. So maybe you can see it. This is how I do it for my campaign. So I got history, geography, and images, and even text beside images. And that's how I do it. I took lots of notes during the week, and then I combined every note into a huge G-Doc with images and reference. Pretty much. So yeah, maybe you can another one other techniques or tools.
Um, the way I generally structure everything is more like, okay, what do I want for this particular thing? I have the PDF that has the core book, the monsters, the flavors, and well, from time to time I have to prep a sheet of paper and then just uh, it's not like it has a certain structure. Far from it. It's more like have ideas written, kind of like titles and the points that I might be interested in putting in, but I'm not sure where it might fit, so to speak. So it is just like a jumble of titles of things that might happen and not necessarily in the same order. And on another sheet of paper, I'd keep the rules for either combat or investigation or the specific powers that the specific system has in store, and kind of like a cheat sheet, just to have it in case I actually need it for stuff to be rolled. And it's all very fluid, and it depends on what I want to do with specific thing. Because most of the time it's like I see uh, two, three things, and they're on different places on the page, and how I interact with them, it's I see them in my mind, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to use this, this, and this, because I feel like it goes well with what I want to show for this particular one shot or this particular campaign, because it fits. And if a player throws a curveball at me, I'll rearrange the words from the list, and it's like this, this, and this. And again, it's not an actual list, it's more like titles thrown in the page. Sometimes it's written up down, other times it's diagonally, other times it's like where you find it. From time to time you even see me draw little figurines to actually signify the miniature version of the particular NPC that I want to in role play or want to bring out for the players to fight against or whatever I feel like. So
Right.
yeah.
I'm noticing actually, as you're talking, that Dropplace actually pulled up a screen share, which I
I
think is
did.
kind of hitting on the subjects that we're all talking about, and I want to kind of let him explain that because that looks really pretty, and I want to know more.
So this is OneNote, which you can download for free. This is why I said I use this instead of a binder anymore. If you guys look, like there's a tab that I have for working files. This is basically my notes. When the game is going on, this is where I'll typically type down anything that's happening in the game. And then you can see that within each one of these tabs, I can have multiple pages. For example, this is my GMA workshop guide, which I went ahead and took all that stuff that was inside there. The only one I really use because I'm more familiar with it is the building plot line. And I just kind of keep it up here blank just to kind of keep my mind focused on some of the things that I need to touch on as I do things. Like I said, it's not like a Bible or anything to stick to, but it is kind of reference. And then, of course, I have like those 36 dramatic situations and everything else I was talking about inside there. And then, of course, if you go over to plot, this is where I've popped in that plot design, and I can fill that in. This is for a game that I'm kind of working on the side right now. I haven't gotten exceptionally far in it, but like I have templates in here, so this at plot is my template. So if I need to create a new page, I just right-click it, and then I'll make a copy of it inside here, and then I'll start typing on my copy of it. But I wanted to bring up my Gazetteer. This one I built using the D&D 5th edition rules on how to build a settlement because I wanted to test how the Dungeon Master's Guide suggests to do it. And I actually really liked how settlements are done in 5th edition. I think it's a little bit more complicated than I normally go because I usually just kind of give a city a couple tags and then I move on. But I thought it was kind of a nice way that they did it. So what I did is I put together like what this settlement's purpose is. It's going to be a home base for players inside the world, what the town is, the population. And then I went a little further and I included stuff like what the commerce is, how many different vendors and things like that are on here. But basically I've broken it down into these big bullet points and then just gave a couple points inside there to let me know whenever a player looks around, you know, what the atmosphere of the city is. And so I've got the city broken down into different sections, like the Iron Gate, the Trade Gate, the Hearth Gate, and the Iron Hall. And then I've got stuff like the sigil for the city inside here, because just like in other programs like Google+, you can drop images inside here. The cool thing that I really do like about this one is if you have a PDF, you can actually drop PDF directly in here, and then it becomes a clickable PDF. So if you have character sheets that people send you, you can actually just drop it inside your folder here. And then basically what I did is now I've got these noble families and important NPCs, which I gave them each their own family tabs. Again, not very far in the process of making out each one of these, but it does kind of allow me to quickly reference other pages inside here. And then like I have a Dragonborn house that's inside there, and these guys are actually kind of filled out. The Tunnel Rats, which is a thieves guild inside there. I've got like what their hierarchy is, their motto and beliefs, and these give me kind of notes that I can refer to so that if players don't interact with the Tunnel Rats for like 6 or 7 games, I don't forget everybody who's involved in them because I have important NPCs marked down here and stuff like that. And this is kind of the normal structure I use. As far as actually doing an adventure, here's an example of one of the adventures that I put together. Is I've got my main villains, what their actions are, their framing events, and party goals. This is again using the DMG for 5th edition, how they put together, just because I wanted to test it. I didn't really care for the structure that they use, to be honest. It just doesn't fit my style, so I'll probably end up rewriting this in more of a plot structure that fits my kind of idea of what I like to do. But the cool thing is I have other things inside here, like how to do a location-based adventure, an event-based adventure, mystery, intrigue, because each one of them has little different elements inside there that you should focus on. And then, of course, like adventure logs, events and timelines, scenes, character stuff. I have a page inside here as well about different rules that are specific to that game world. And then from there, I just have another tab that's called Things, which is me placing random stuff inside here. It's just another working files tab. If I can figure out how to share a blank version of this that doesn't have all my content, I'll let you guys know. I'm still kind of working out OneNote right now.
Question. Can you put in Word, Excel documents, and PowerPoint documents in this OneNote thing?
Yeah, you can put anything inside here. When you take a document and you place it inside here, it's kind of like adding it to your desktop, and there'll be a little icon. So let me think here. Hero Labs. So I've got a character sheet for Hero Labs. I'll just drop one of those inside there. And then you can attach file, and what it'll do is attach it like this, and then it'll actually open it up like that. Or you can attach the file to where, let me grab a different one, throw it in there. You can insert printout, and then what it'll do is actually show you.
You're breaking up a little bit.
The document less time.
Chris, you're breaking up a little bit. You might want to wait for the document to finish because it's making your voice stutter out.
But it doesn't put like a separate tab, right?
No, it looks like what it's. Oh, that's what it's doing right there.
Yep.
Oh,
so if you do it as load, if you do it as load in, it does kind of like a print preview. So I've got the icon I can click on here, and it's got the whole character sheet right here.
But it doesn't put it like a separate tab in which it puts all the text and document.
No, but if you wanted an extra tab, all you have to do is just add page, and now you have a new page to put it in.
I mean, if I want the content of the document to put in another tab, to speak.
Well, that's what he's doing though. He's basically he's saying. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you wanted it in another tab, you could
Mhm.
just drag it over to the tab you want it in and drop it there, or you can create a new tab and drop it in a blank tab and make it its own tab.
Oh,
It's
okay,
actually
cool.
a pretty flexible program. And like I said, it is free, so I mean, if you are interested in it, it's on Microsoft's website.
Okay, thanks.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna look into this.
And if I can, like I said, if I can figure out how to share any of these notebooks, I'll go ahead and share the blank copy because, like I said, this one's a little better than what I have on the Google Sheet, but the Google Sheet just kind of hits the basics for everybody.
Mhm.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, anyone else want to add to that, or can we move on to the next question?
It's looking like we can move on. So let's that was actually really good. I'm like sitting here like completely thinking about what Chris was showing, and I'm just like, what are we here to talk about? We're here to talk about that, right?
Yeah.
I tend to be a little bit more strict with my prep because I don't know why. For me, that's the enjoyment of doing the game. So I have a lot of stuff like that, and for me, it makes it easier to run if I've already kind of thought about like 4 or 5 steps ahead of my players. They're still going to give me a left turn, and all my prep is going to be wasted about 9/10 out of the time. But it does help me feel out how the world is, so that I can create a more natural response to what their left turn is.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of one of the things I had wanted to hit on next, and that's that do you think you can be too over-prepared with plot? And do you think it's more important to understand your world and how it would react to players than it is to really know what your defined plot is?
Absolutely. You can never be over prepared of plots for your world because, okay, just say in your mind that you are. It's just something that can be used as an extra later on if the characters, they take that deviated turn and go somewhere else. Well, you already got some prepared for them, even though they didn't go to it here. You can still add it over here if they happen to go and deviate the opposite way. Because just like what Chris was saying, it doesn't matter how much you prep, the players are going to just screw it anyway. They're going to take that window, open it up, and just toss the stuff right out that you've already prepped for. So, and that's just what players do. They don't mean to do it. Well, maybe they do, maybe they don't, but that's just what kind of happens. So when you have multiple layers of prepared plots, it's not that it's wasted. It's just that, okay, you have extra ammunition in case the players do throw you that curve. You got some that you can draw on from the fly and improv and just make it so seamless, like, hell yeah, I already had it prepared for y'all. See, y'all think y'all cool, but I'm better than y'all.
Yeah, and one of the things that I want to point out, a lot of GMs don't really take this in at the beginning. Like, they feel like they're kind of violating their own story. But if your players, let's say you present them with a goblin horde is attacking the village, and they go, well, that goblin horde is nice, but there's a dungeon over here we want to explore. Let them go ahead and explore that dungeon, but you should take that goblin horde and progress them on their natural path. If the players reject it, they're going to have to deal with it eventually. So having that plot prepared makes sense. And then the other thing is let's say you don't want to go ahead and progress that goblin horde. You can turn around and take them, move them somewhere else, use the same basic plot, but instead they're a little bit higher level. So let's say it's orcs, an orc horde that's attacking a different village later on. You can still use everything that you prepped for. You just change the monster, and then it works. Just little minor tweaks or reskins. It will fix any sort of plots that you have floating around. I wanted to mention one other thing. If you ever get super stuck on how to prepare a plot, there is a great book by Gnome Stew called Eureka 501 Adventure Plots. Literally, if you open it up, there's like 4 paragraphs on what this little one-shot adventure is. And when I do 5th edition one-shots, I'm probably just going to pull them straight from that book and use them. Because honestly, they're pretty straightforward, easy adventures, and a lot of them have some interesting stuff. And they are broken up by like the 36 dramatic situations, so it does kind of fit with everything else that I've kind of shown you guys so far today.
And same with the books. you can check out The Lazy Dungeon Master. It's a really good book that breaks down everything you have to do to prep a game, and go with little like sheets, and it gives lots of stuff for new DM to do less to get more feel and more fun from the game, and it's really cool like this. I read it as a one shot. It's like let me see, 40 pages? No, maybe more. But it's really short book, but it breaks down really simply. Yeah, 50 pages.
There's
It's a really good book.
Yeah, there's another one. Well, if you guys check it out, Gnome Stew, I think that their publishing is really good just in general. They've got another one called Never Unprepared, it's a book entirely about different styles of game preparation. And I want to say they have like 4 or 5 GMs that write for that book, and it's like each one of them has a different style to show you. So maybe something that I'm saying doesn't click, but like for example with this group, something Chepe says clicks for you. And that's kind of, well, somebody brought it up earlier as I was coming in that it's good to check out those other channels and venues because you may find something that really fits for you. I'm a big advocate of that as well.
Yeah, that was Chris.
And in my case, it's more like the more I do, because it's like if I just prep and it never happens because real life tends to get in the way and I forget details and I remember other details and stuff happens and whatever. It's more in the lines of, okay, I'm doing the preparations, but I have to actually do the game. Because the more games I run, the better I become as a DM, GM, ST. I become better as a person, and I get better. The more I do it, the more I feel more confident, more relaxed, more in the zone when it comes to games and whatever curveballs the players throw at me. There isn't such a thing as being under or over prepared. Is more like doing the more games. The more games you run, the more knowledge and confidence you gain.
Right.
You know?
And you're gonna hear, you guys are gonna hear this a lot, and I'm basically kind of talking to anybody that watches it. Is the word prep, and like prep is like super important because really you define it as a DM. Like whoever you are, your definition of prep is your definition of prep. The only thing any of these guys can like really give you is ideas for how you can construct your own prep. If your style is to freeball it and just go crazy off the wall improv, then that's your style. If you're looking for tools, some of these guys like Drop Dice and Baptiste, I can't say the name.
Yeah, that's good. No problem.
Like have really good resources and books and stuff for you guys. And like for me personally, I write books a lot. I've probably written at least 8 books under my belt, and I think what's really, really important is a lot of people work really, 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 really well with structure, and so like the stuff that Chris was showing, like if you work really great with structured resources, that's going to be great for you. If you're somebody that is thank you, Jeff. If you are somebody who is really into creative thinking, one of the tools I personally use is to always keep my note cards or my notebook with me, no matter where I go. I went to Florida, and the entire trip down, I had a notebook, and it was just scribbles and scribbles and scribbles of ideas as I traveled. And that's one of the things I do, because you'll be in the middle of walking to the park, and you sit down on a bench and you have this great idea, and by the time you get home it's gone, poof. But if you keep a habit of keeping a journal or some note cards, either in your back pocket, cargo pocket if you're a guy, or a purse if you're a girl, or a cargo pocket if you're a girl that likes to wear cargo pants, okay, whatever floats your boat, but keeping it near you and close to the chest is really helpful for those creative minds that like to think on the fly, and you can take those home and kind of line them up, like Chepe was saying, as lists, and you can pull from them. And that'll work for, you know, the people who like structure, the people who pull from both sections, or the people that just like to have the list sitting in front of them so they can improv it. And you know, it's like I was saying, it really boils down to your style of prep. But if anybody else has anything they want to say before I move on, go for it.
It's more like in the whole vein of Mythbusters. Keep your notes, because the difference between science and just having fun is keeping notes. But in my experience, it's more like the more you run, the more familiar you get with what you can and what you cannot do, and how you can structure your ideas and free flow from there. Because that's the most important thing. Keep on running games, and that's how you improve. That's how you find your weaknesses and your strengths. That's how you deal with different situations and different people. Keep doing it.
Right, and I'll even give you guys an example. We scheduled this DM Tavern, what was it, last week? Exactly, actually. I think it was last week exactly, because Ian ran one on that Sunday. For the past week, this is going to be kind of hard to show. The past week, I have been keeping note cards about questions that came in, ideas about things I wanted to ask, and these are front and back, by the way. And like, so like that's, you know, an example of, you know, using that tool and not just, you know, kind of saying, oh, well, I could do that, and then never really picking it up. Like, these things are real resources that you can use, and they're really important to help organize thoughts. You know, moving farther down the rabbit hole that is plot.
I do have one other point to throw in there. You mentioned about carrying a notebook. I picked this up from taking my art classes. If you carry a notebook that is of nicer quality, you tend to use it more often. So for me, I go ahead and spend the extra money to get myself like a Moleskine. I like the texture of the paper. I like the way it writes and accepts ink. And so what I'll do, because I'm more of an art-driven individual, I'll buy like a sketchbook, and I will not worry about the lines, and I'll do little doodles inside there. I'll write down some of my ideas. And so my sketchbooks end up being half game books, half sketchbooks. Like if you look at my sketchbooks all over the house, they're all like that. They're just a big mess. Yeah, my animals are a mess too. Thanks, Baptiste, for pointing that out.
That's crazy that you mentioned that, though, because I'm just going to real quick before you finish. That's actually really important to me. If it's not pretty and it's not cute for me, a girl, obviously, then I won't use it. This is my DM binder. And my fiance goes, why don't you just get the 99-cent black one? I was like, because it needs to be pretty, Cody, or I won't use it.
Yeah, for me, it's a paper texture and weight quality. I don't know what it is. I think it's because of taking so many art classes that I'm like really particular on paper types now. That like if it's not the right paper, I won't use it. Like I'll go through 3 or 4 binders before I find the one that feels right for that campaign. And then once I do, like I stick with it. Like the one that I have in my bag, I'm using that to write up all my ideas for this Power Rangers game that I'm trying to develop. And so it floats around in my bag and follows me everywhere. It stays in the car. It goes with me no matter where I'm going. And like if I'm sitting at some place, like let's say, you know, I go to like the hospital or something, and I'm just waiting to be seen from a doctor, I'll take it inside there, and if I just happen to think of something, I'll just jot it down real quick. It doesn't have to be in depth or anything like that.
For me, it's more like paper everywhere, like notes like this. I've got paper in my pockets, in my bag. I got sticky notes everywhere.
I was going to say, my desk is like that, like napkins. That's my friend.
Yeah, and that's it for me. And what is good with it is you forgot stuff like all over the place, and you find something on your table, and you're like, that thing is amazing. Why
it's like finding $20 in your pocket.
Yeah. For me, it's like a discovery every day.
Mm-hmm.
But I may be a bad example because putting notes and losing notes everywhere is not the best way to prep games.
It's alright. Everyone does that from time to time.
Oh, I'm the same way, dude. If you looked at my desk, it would just horrify you.
Oh yeah, I think all of our desks have the same move, either with notes, post-its, books, and notebooks that you kind of write stuff. Although don't write on books because that's just wrong. But yeah, messy desks. So yeah.
But the point is really take notes on the fly and bring them back together to prep your game. And when you get ideas, write them down because you're gonna forget them or maybe twist them around. And it's best to have some base for your preparation and not go full blank page and stay at it for half an hour.
Yeah. Or if you cannot write anything and you have your cell phone, especially a smartphone that's a newer quality, you can just record yourself and then listen to yourself and what crazy ideas you had at that time. No?
Yeah, I'm just gonna sit over here in the middle of Starbucks mumbling to myself. Don't mind me. Shh, note, plot.
I was gonna say, you do it at Starbucks, you'll fit right in.
Hey, I'm just saying it's a tool we
Oh, it is.
can
It is.
use.
I was just being silly.
We tend to do that. We run games. So, silliness commands!
I'm actually gonna open the floor a bit for you guys to either. I know we have some people that came in, looking for advice, and they might have some specific questions. And if you guys do, go for it. Now's the time.
Oh, there's one more thing. Chippy mentioned block and random generators, and one of them, Dungeon, which is just an amazing random generator for preparing game. Because there's NPC generator, map, fantasy, calendar, there's everything on it. I will link it to the Facebook page. And it's really useful just to have some base ground and maps. You can even roll maps of dungeons and play with them as is. So really useful stuff if you like short on time or if you want some inspiration.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I want to encourage all like new DMs, new players. I mean, I've been DMing for a long time and everything, but I'm new to, all the Facebook groups and stuff. Just don't be afraid to reach out because there's so many friendly people here in the community. Chepe, Chris, now Chelsea. You got Robert Ogre. He looks scary, but he's really nice. It just don't be afraid to just reach out. Nelson and Barker and Matt Click and all those guys. We're all just people at the end of the day, and we love to do what we do, either DMing or sitting on the other side of the table being a player. We're all in this together, so we might as well just be cool and play games. And just the most important thing, just have fun, and that's what it's all about. Use our creative outlets that we have in our minds through the crappy day-to-day humdrum of life. To get away and explore unknown worlds and meet new people. In game and also out of game. So. That's just what it's all about. So please just reach out. It might not even be a game system that you like and I'll probably be assassinated later on in the night for this in my home. But I hate Fate. I like watching it. I love watching people play games on Fate, but I would never, never, ever run one. But still, just talk to people about Fate, and you might be inspired by something that you've seen on somebody playing a Fate game. It's not that you have to pick up the system and run it. Just watch people play it, and you might get inspiration from that.
Yeah, that's what actually brought me onto the OSG and via the Fate community. So yeah, that's my baby at the moment. It's Fate.
Well, it's more like an idea because we're all here to have fun. We're all here to experience the games that, some of us don't have the chance to actually sit at a table with other people, and that's why some of us actually make events so that they can meet new people, try out new systems, try out new ideas that they wanted for a long time to test out but didn't have the chance because they cannot get people interested in their day-to-day lives or their circle of friends, and they want to reach out to the people in, let's say, this group or any other, because we are trying to fulfill a certain need, because video games are fun and good to a certain extent. At one point, you actually want to write that fanfic. You want to be that OC character and play original character, not OC, because I'm not talking about out of character. Yeah, you want to be that original character in your fanfic, and you want to bring it to life. And you want to bring your world to life within a system, and you get to find new players, new people to try out that particular world, that particular town, that particular class. You find new ways of experiencing different game types, and hopefully meeting diverse people that can both question and change your line of thought. Maybe get you interested in different cultures that you haven't thought before because you've met these types of people. And the list goes on.
All right, cool. Anybody else?
No, we can move on, at least for me.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, if we got other questions, that seems like a good way to go.
No, but we've got about 28 more minutes before I'm going to close it off, and there's something, I did warn you guys that there would be something fun in this session, and there shall be.
Go for it. Go.
I warned some of the guys that came early what was coming, and now everybody gets to find out. So here's basically what we're going to do. If you're camera shy, if you don't like being put on the spot, too bad. So here's the basic gist. We're going to do the world's quickest round robin DM. We're going to do straight RP. Don't worry about statistics or anything like that. But basically, we're going to craft a plot and a story right here, right now, and we're going to kind of basically show everybody how using these tools can help you create things on the fly. So everybody's been kind of sharing things and stuff like that. Is there anybody has any questions on exactly what we're doing? Am I not explaining it very well?
Okay, so basically we're going to structure something, use like dice to roll some other things, and hopefully do some things that are very vague.
Okay.
No. The best
I was going to say this.
About it. Do an example. Start Chelsea and
Yeah. Oh,
explain to us
absolutely.
other way.
I will absolutely, because I did not prepare myself for this either. I didn't want to cheat and like prepare myself either. So like I'm doing this off the cuff as well. So basically, we're gonna create and craft a world, a problem, a story, and what's going on. We're not really worrying about individual characters, but we're gonna kind of just go down the list and create a world and what's going on in it. So basically, I am going to let me actually real quick grab something. I will be right back.
Ominous. So yeah,
No.
we'll see.
No pressure.
No pressure. No, I think it will be akin to what we'll do, pretty much.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think we pretty much all did that.
I apologize for that. I actually ran and grabbed one of my resources that I like to use a lot when I'm getting started. And I've actually talked about them a couple times before. But I grabbed my Rory Story Cubes.
I have those too. Awesome.
I love them so much.
I haven't picked up a set. I want to.
Oh, they're actually on the phone as well, by the way.
Yeah, I know that there's the app, but I think I'd rather have the cubes themselves.
Oh, so
Yeah.
same thing here.
I think so too.
I like books and physical objects, so apps are fun, but not everything to me.
Okay. So.
I was gonna say I think we should have Chepe create the world. That way we're all screwed trying to go on some surrealist adventure.
No, let him do it because we wouldn't have to say anything.
Yeah. Be like, okay, the
So
world is
the
created
bubbles
to
can
exist.
go.
Enjoy.
Nice.
Who wants a new genre?
Alright, so I'm going to show you guys this, and hope that
Did you say Judeo-punk?
Wow.
That's Saddlepunk. Excuse me.
Alright. So these are basically what I rolled, and I just want to show everybody so you guys get an example. I've got a bridge, a flame, and a lock. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start this off by saying that... I'm going to start this off by saying that recent destruction has leveled a village. And you're hearing rumors of this in a tavern somewhere. Don't know where. You guys are going to have to figure that one out. And the only way to stop this, destruction is hidden. That's my lock. It's hidden, and you're going to need to send your party somewhere, and maybe it involves a bridge. I don't know what to do with the bridge. So basically, the next person that goes is, you've got a leveled village, you're starting your characters off hearing about it. It's a rumor. And you're going to kind of build off of that. What else, what is this destruction? Why is it happening? What's the secret and the key to stopping it? And where is it taking place? And, whoever wants to jump in first can jump in first.
Yeah. So, basically, the destruction was caused because of a plague that has been kept secret by the nobility because they didn't want to get out the secret that they are experimenting on sentient life, especially trying to create super soldiers in order to fight their worlds a lot better than they were before. However, the fire has destroyed all of the experimentation and the research notes alongside with the clones and the test subjects there. The party is sent out to investigate said fire and then go around the whole kingdom from place to place and discover the various water resources that might have been used to power up the said facility. Sort of looking towards the, especially the flowing waters, and trying to figure out how it mutated the local wildlife in order to figure out if it impacted the environment and maybe the umbra around it. Because if usually when it comes to magical and scientific creations, sometimes using the whole Japanese belief that if you're not cleansing yourself on a regular basis, you start transforming into a monster. So that's why it turns out that the whole environment has been affected, and the players have to go on and search for the various monsters that have resulted from the intoxication of the flowing water sources that have been flowing throughout the kingdom for millennia since their inception. So besides that, they have to figure out a way to pass through the freaking dimensions, because it didn't affect the world on the physical plane. It affected the world on the spiritual plane as well. And it's not just one type of spiritual plane. It's multiple types. It is at an animistic level, at a necromantic level, and at some diverse parallel dimensions and pocket dimensions were affected because of this event.
All right,
And
I think we have a new improv king over here. We have a new improv king over here. He just is like, nobody else is getting a turn. This is now my story. That was awesome.
So,
I was just about to finish.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because and the secret to actually discovering this.
Since he's written the adventure, can we get a new topic?
Yeah, we're gonna get a new topic here.
I'm just going to finish off to the key, because the key is important.
Okay, what's the key? What's the key?
The key is a questing stone that has been that is in the south of the kingdom. That is the source of the whole power of the experiments. And the players have to find it in order to cleanse everything in one fell swoop. Otherwise, the villagers and noblemen will have to kill off the monsters one by one for millennia if they don't find the stone in time.
All right. I'm gonna cut you off right there because we only have minutes to get there.
I'm done.
So,
I am impressed, though. I am impressed.
So we got like the whole plague touching people, and I say with this plague, this magical experiment with the planes done on one continent, like the whole continent got contaminated and destroyed. No, new subject, really? Nah, we can continue with this.
A couple people asked for
with this.
I was gonna say, as far as prep for a one-shot goes, I think what he's covered is pretty much more than enough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, outlines an overarching story, to be honest.
Chepe wanted to kind of like add on a little bit to this idea. So
No, I think he wants to create a new idea. Is what's going on.
He wants to create a new idea.
I can build it on top of it, or I can go with new ideas. No problem.
What is Chepe wanting to do here? Because it sounded interesting.
Yeah.
What? Oh, I was just doing that for my turn. I'm rolling the niche generator to add in just a randomly rolled genre into it. That's
okay.
it. We'll find out if it actually comes to my turn. You guys got a whole adventure written. Just continue on. Like, you didn't get my input whatsoever. You guys are doing perfectly fine. You got a 3-off going.
Sorry.
Someone wrote a novel for you, man. You got a whole platform.
I'm actually going to start you guys over because what I wanted you guys to do was each add a couple sentences each and like build it together. So I'm going to re-roll for you guys and hold up their symbols, and then we'll have Batiste start us off.
Good.
All right. All right. I hope these are all and down and
Okay, so we got a clock, ladder, and a hand. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's ladder. No, actually, it looks like a fort. It's actually a fort.
It is folk. Okay.
Yeah, it's a fort. So you got a hand, a fort, and an arrow. No, a clock. Sorry, you had a clock.
Okay. For the clock, I think I was gonna use the clock. For time differences. We don't know the place yet, and I'm gonna pass it to someone else. But there's a shift in times as the wind goes. around the area. And if you get caught in the wind, you slow down or really go fast. And it's really weird because as you get caught in different time space, you cannot see other time spaces. And next one, who wants to take it?
The winds of time were caused by the time paradox was caused by a dark matter generator that got messed up when some divine energy got added to it. That's what caused the winds of time or winds of change. And the building that it was in was called Camp Fort Cairnsmere in South Carolina. That's where they were doing the experiment, and then that's when the experiment went awry. Next.
The hand could be like the White Hand, mystical group, who really involved in this timescape thing.
Nice, White Hound, stealing it.
Love it. Love it. Now we've got the White Hand. Is the White Hand involved with the fort and the?
I think they're going to have to be rivals.
They're rivals. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I'll establish a genre since we haven't really set one. I want to go for a not quite Shadowrun style, but a future where magic has come back to the world, but I want to go like far hard sci-fi future with it.
Okay, cool.
So Shadowrun meets Numenera?
Not quite apocalyptic type Numenera. I'm thinking like Traveler with magic would be kind of a good way to explain it.
Alright. Interesting. Not everybody at once.
So
Chepe's grinding at the bit here, so just go ahead.
no, sorry.
Do it.
So, the genre, one of the things I rolled was Mythic Native American, so that's I guess the magic element that's being incorporated into this traveler setting. So, and because it's in South Carolina as well, so crap, I didn't look up a tribe of South Carolina. I shall do so now.
All right, so so the White Hands are the Native American tribe in South Carolina?
No.
No?
But we do have Cherokee.
I was going to say they could be a faction within the tribe, but the tribe could be some sort of aspect further to the game.
Like a hand painting of a white hand.
Yeah, that fits in really well.
If you want to keep it kind of a Native American feel, how the Blackfoots for their symbol, it was like literally they would step inside like a black pigment and then put it on a canvas. That could be what it is that like it's a white hand, like their own white hand print imprinted on like their chests.
That'd be cool.
The same way they did it in Lord of the Rings.
Similar, yeah.
Yeah.
What if the White Hand they're sort of like a group of exiles from their tribe, and in order to try and get back into their tribe, they've got to take down this dark matter generator, which is establishing the winds of time, and so they've got to try and get their honor back.
So we've now reached the Expendables.
Yes.
Only.
So are we thinking the players should explore the tribal aspect of the game, or should they be someone trying to stop this White Hand group?
I would go with going against the White Hand group because they are responsible for the device going awry. They are the ones that sabotaged it in the first place.
Okay, so in them trying to stop the experimentation, basically they set it off and sabotaged it.
Yep.
Is that what we're saying?
Yep.
All right, cool.
That sounds good.
How about you give us a purpose for the White Hand's actions, Anthony? We haven't heard from you yet.
Well, I thought I said that they were trying to get their honor back. I already said that before. So I thought they were going to be sort of outcasts from their tribe, and in order to get back, then they would have to sort of like please their elders or whatever and carry out this mission.
I was kind of thinking more specifically for the actions of the sabotage of the device. Do you have any ideas on that one?
Sure. Or is this going to be like proper sci-fi, or is this like magic here?
Well, from what we're talking about, it would be kind of a proper sci-fi with some Native American spiritual aspects to it.
Okay, so what about if they sort of like had to throw laser tomahawks at the
I
structure?
like laser tomahawks. I like laser tomahawks.
So the laser tomahawks, they each just like threw as many as they could at the building, hoping that they would damage the structure and make it collapse. But instead, the outer building, the stadium wall, ended up like collapsing onto the generator itself and activated it, and it went into a meltdown, which activated the winds of time.
Yep.
That's cool.
And we're sending out our players to try to fix the situation and hopefully get into the eye of the storm and stabilize the device in order to make the winds of time just go away.
So okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, just to kind of reiterate where we're at, our players are going against them, right? The White Hands are an outcasted subsection of a Native American South Carolina tribe who have basically structurally damaged this what do we call it?
Yeah.
The device.
Dark matter generator.
There it is, dark matter generator. And they have a reason for it, so we've got reason for why they're doing it. And basically, I think the next thing we have to decide is what area maybe would we start our players in? Like, why would they get involved? Besides, what are these Sands of Times doing? Why are they involved? Why does this matter to them?
Well,
What if what if they were in a sort of a town nearby and they get sent off by the king because due to these winds of time, he's aging really fast because the time's accelerating for him because he's not moving too much on his throne. So where he is, because he's too lazy to move, he's just aging faster than he wants to. So then he sends out this adventuring party to try and repair the dark matter generator with the intent of like staying young, or maybe even reversing it so he can go back to a more youthful time.
Well, that's a good idea. Maybe he sees it. Maybe this king is actually not that great of a person, and he sees this as an opportunity to reverse his age a bit. That's a good one.
And with incoming players, they don't have to necessarily be taken from exactly the same place or time space, because the winds of time have permeated and made a lot of time paradoxes around the world, and the governments are paying the PCs to try to fix the problem because it disrupts the natural environment, and not just the environment, but the whole civilization that they have created. So, yeah.
So the players are from different time zones.
Yep.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
See, this is why I wanted to play this little game.
We should do this more often. So random.
Yeah, but if they solve the problem, then they're going to be stuck.
Yeah. If they don't solve the problem, they actually start meeting their ancestors and the descendants at the same time, and maybe see themselves in kind of like a mirrored fashion from a different dimension, and the whole place will become overcrowded if they don't solve the situation in time.
Yeah, from a DM standpoint, I think it would be really cool to maybe, if someone were to like run a one shot like this, if they were to grab some of the characters' bios and like people from their past and like have them like thrown, into the players' faces, and maybe it's somebody that they had loved and lost, who maybe passed away from something, and now maybe they're a little shaky if they actually want to turn this time machine kind of like Winds of Time thing off. And I'm cruel like that, so I'd throw that at somebody.
Yeah. So maybe just see them having descendants of someone that they might have loved but couldn't because they're dead,
Yeah.
And they try to rack their brain. They're like, oh shit, I shouldn't have killed so-and-so person because kids!
What about you, Chepe?
I was just going to reconcile some of the logical incongruences we have, because we got a king in South Carolina hiring out a bunch of random townspeople from various parts of time in order to fight this enclave of abandoned tribal warriors in a science fiction future that can't be post-apocalyptic. Since it can't be post-apocalyptic, which would make it easy, how about we say, because it is Traveler, we'll say a group of people actually ousted from Earth a long time ago. And the remnants only live in smaller, more colonial-style towns, typically because they were more historically inclined, or they just needed smaller settlements. This is in the area of South Carolina, with exception to certain scientific groups that form their own little, Bioshock-style kind of thing, an Ayn Rand mentality.
Like communities or something?
Yeah, like their their own little inward communities of research and study. So you have one of those communities, and they're the ones that have their own little fortress and their little commune, and they're the ones that made the thing, which is why Indians with laser tomahawks could take them down, is probably they don't have a government or military to back them. Because they came in, and they only had a small militia, it got taken down, it caused this huge time paradox. Well, the galaxy normally wouldn't care, but this is a time paradox, and everyone else is from Earth, including the space colonies that are off in the other parts of the system and also in the galaxy. So if you dig with their ancestors, they might not exist anymore, and this is starting to attract a lot of attention. Because of this pressure, they were actually sending a message, we're going to come and invade if you don't take care of this stuff. So now random townspeople who are forming these new miniature towns, because refugees from different parts of time have come together with a king, and we're going to say freaking King Arthur, who has come down, or King William, whatever, or George, someone.
So we've decided that fate
England.
Is the appropriate system for this one.
Correct. Or Traveler, just the most gung-ho Traveler ever. So we have a king who has now taken over this town because he was originally another refugee as well, and he was a natural leader. He took over and kind of translated between different languages because he was a very smart and educated person. And in this town, he took random people from time, maybe a genius, maybe a military person or whatever, to take care of this crap before everyone else, the colonists from beyond the stars, start coming in and invading Earth and destroying them in order to protect themselves because, it's dicking with their ancestry. So now you have to go and take care of that. Somehow deal with this natural disaster and reconvene the White Hand to its tribes, possibly, in order to stop this whole mess from happening.
Hashtag Chepe drops the microphone.
I was going to say, so Chepe will be running this in about 2 weeks because it fits with his style.
I'm saying, so we had a king in South Carolina that had to be reconciled. We had to reconcile the fact that it can't be post-apocalyptic, yet we have Native Americans with laser tomahawks in a traveler-style setting. With mysticism. Oh, and the mysticism element is because they actually do have the ability to see aspects of the future or possible realities that could come in. Something based off of either Molinism or something like, if you've ever, what's the name of that film? Not Click. What's the name of the film? Whatever it is, you get to see future realities, and this is their spirit vision. Because people of some of these tribes have been born with quantum entanglements between them and other possible futures. And that's what their connection was and how they could predict when the device would happen and what they needed to do. Yep. And so now you have element, and because of possible realities opening because of the time paradox, spiritual elements of Native American mythology are actually becoming true over time, including visions and animals and things. So you do have spirit animals, which is a ubiquitous term, by the way, in all world religions, but regardless. You have fortune telling, you have the whole thing. And now you have to deal with mysticism actually wrestling, and it could be a supernatural entity that came out of the time paradox because it was a divine mixture of that with the dark matter that could be manipulating you to not actually stop it, but be deceived on how to stop it and make it worse. So now you have to wrestle the politics between the colony, this unknown spiritual entity, this freaking tribe, the White Hands, and the tribes that they left from, all the while trying to figure out what is the actual method to stop the winds of time. Good luck!
And that is why we like to run games, because stuff like this happens all of the time.
Yeah, it's maybe not the most basic stuff for a newcomer, but that's pretty much it. You build on it and try to make everything coherent, like everything together, and that's what Chippy did. Every stuff we put, like all across the way, like laser tomahawks and everything, and he put everything together into one world, one place, and that's what you have to do in building a world or a setting for one shot. You go with a bunch of random stuff, ideas, and you make it one story that holds itself.
Yeah, and that is exactly the reason why usually my pages are so freaking messy. Every idea is good in a certain way. It's just the way how I choose how to make them work in a certain setting is up to me. Sometimes I don't get my ideas across the way I want them to, but hey, still human.
Right. And see, the point of this, like, little, I'm going to call it, like, little exercise, was just kind of to, like, prove a point that, like, all these ideas came from nowhere, right? Everybody had all these different great ideas, and at the end, our glorious leader, Chepe, puts them all together and shows you how to take every one of those ideas, iron them out, and make a plot out of them.
I was going to say, you guys noticed that when Chepe was done, he had to adjust his King of the Niche crown there.
But like that was basically the point in doing this. It was just a fun little exercise to kind of like show how all these different techniques can come together and make a plot, and it's really not that hard.
So, I did want to point out something that we did without realizing it. I think a lot of people do it when they prep. Is if you notice that when Baptiste started this, he started with an event. And I think that for me, that's the best way for me to build a plot, is to start with the event that is going on that would trigger action by people that are in the environment, or the players in this case. And that would be kind of one of the things that I think would be a good thing to take away, is like look at the structure of how things kind of evolved, because that's kind of like how it would start. Is you start with the event and then you build off the event and you say, okay, so we know this is happening. Why is it happening? What effects does it have? Where are the players coming in? That sort of thing, and you can kind of snowball into a bigger picture and have that ridiculous laser tomahawk idea.
Yeah, it's exactly like Chris just said. You know, you started with an event, and then NPCs started to form. Mr. Andrew with the king down there. We have an NPC all of a sudden. You know, everything kind of naturally formed along the way. Yeah, exactly like Chris said.
And we can get our inspirations from everything. Fuck, I just had Dear Night Hag roll 3 dice, and I could just snowball a whole epic plot from that, you know?
Right, exactly. But we are officially 4 minutes over time, so I am going to say goodbye to everybody who is watching and stop the broadcast. And I'm going to thank everybody who watched and came and put their 2 cents in and asked questions. And for future reference, the next subject topic for next month is not yet decided. But when it is, I will post up a thingy maboober on the One Shot group, and you guys can go ahead and ask questions ahead of time. Like I said, I had already had a list of questions that have been sent in for this time, but that's about it, and we're gonna wrap it up. If everybody wants to say bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Have pleasant dreams.